Revealed, the heartwarming truth behind the woman washing dishes at a luxury party. Her husband. Oh, the clinking of crystal glasses and the echoes of laughter floated through the air, a stark contrast to the rhythmic splashes of water and the relentless scrubbing of dishes in the hotel kitchen. Grace's calloused hands worked tirelessly, her fingers wrinkled yet strong, the texture telling stories of years spent in labor. Each plate and glass mirrored another sacrifice she'd made, just a small piece of the life she had forged to support her husband, Mark, a war veteran battling his own shadows. Her heart sank as she wiped her brow, knowing that while the elite indulged, she remained unseen, a ghost in the bustling backdrop of opulence. A moment of bittersweet nostalgia tugged at her as the memories flashed before her when Mark's laughter filled their little apartment, simpler times before demons crept into his nights. Now, those memories were clouded by the urgency to keep their fragile family together. As she scrubbed the debris from the plates, her thoughts wandered to Sarah, their estranged daughter, who was somewhere amongst the glittering crowd, possibly too busy enjoying her silver spoon life. Grace's heart ached at the thought of their widening chasm, carved by different dreams of success. Every thud of a plate onto the counter sent ripples of frustration through her. She remembered nights spent sketching out plans to bring Sarah joy while tightening their budget to near breaking point. Grace's heart beat faster, echoing the cacophony around her. Then, an accident: her hands slipped, and a plate shattered, scattering shards like her own crumbled dreams. The noise cut through the air, and silence momentarily gripped the lavish gala as gasps erupted. For the first time, eyes turned in her direction, acknowledging the woman behind the scenes. Grace's breath hitched when she spotted Sarah. Their gazes locked briefly, the rich palette of their diverging lives unfolded in that silent exchange. Grace's heart raced, turning the eyes of the room into silent spectators at the crossroads of their lives. The contrast was stark. Here was her daughter, enveloped in luxury, while Grace stood in a soaked apron, an unyielding warrior of duty. Every unspoken word rose between them, sharp and heavy, like a thick fog threatening to choke the air. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment hung ripe with unresolved tension, a breath away from transformation. Sarah's friends murmured, their expressions shifting from disdain to a dawning realization. With shimmers of acknowledgement, applause broke out, enveloping Grace in a wave of validation. In that instant, the room began to bridge the gap. Her labor wasn't invisible, her worth wasn't unnoticed. But as the claps echoed, the simmering question loomed: would Sarah break free from her gilded cage and recognize the sacrifices behind her mother's heart? As the applause waned into anxious murmurs, Grace remained at the precipice of waiting out change, her heart pounding with uncertainty. A decision brewed on the horizon. Would this be the moment of reckoning that reunites them, or a divergence that deepens their rift? The answer hung unspoken, anticipation thick in the air, as both stood poised on the edge of something that could change everything. Grace's hands trembled slightly as the applause faded, leaving behind a weighty silence mingled with whispers. She could feel the eyes of the guests, once indifferent, now filled with curiosity and perhaps something akin to respect. It was as if she had just stepped into focus, her struggles no longer hidden behind the glitz and glamour. But the gentle acknowledgement didn't quiet the storm brewing within her. Her gaze remained locked on Sarah, her heart caught in a loop of hope and fear. Would Sarah come over? Would she embrace her, or would she turn her back, reinforcing the rift between them? Finally, the crowd shifted, and Sarah was weaving her way through the throng, her friends trailing behind. Each step felt like an eternity to Grace, full of anticipation and dread. The chatter and laughter swirled around her, but all she could hear was the steady thumping of her heart. Then, just as she thought Sarah might pass her by, she stopped. Their eyes met again, and in that moment, the whole world dimmed. Grace's chest tightened. There was so much to say, so many years of pain and misplaced expectations. Would Sarah understand? Mom. Sarah's voice was soft, tentative, like a whisper laced with fear. The single word sent a shiver racing down Grace's spine. It felt both like a warm embrace and a dagger, all at once. "I'm here, sweetheart," she managed to reply, forcing the warmth into her voice despite the tightness in her throat. Sarah stepped closer, and the other partygoers around them fell away, their laughter fading into the background. It was just the two of them now, two women split by circumstance but bound by an unbreakable thread of love. "Why are you? What are you doing here?" The confusion in Sarah's eyes mirrored Grace's own turmoil. It was the same mix of affection and frustration they had danced around for years. "I'm here because I had to be," Grace said, her voice steadying with each word. "There's something I need you to know." "Everything I've done was for you." Before she could finish, Sarah interrupted, her voice rising, "But at what cost, Mom? You should be out there enjoying this life too." A wave of sadness washed over Grace. The truth, however, was that enjoying life was not about glamour, it was about meaningful connections, sacrifice, and love. "I never wanted you to feel ashamed of who I am, Sarah. I've always wanted the best for you." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes as she glanced back at her friends, then back to Grace. There was struggle in her expression, recognition dawning. The reality of Grace's sacrifice crackled in the air between them like electricity, the tension thickened, and at that moment, the universe felt impossibly still, as if holding its breath. Grace's heart raced with a mix of hope and vulnerability. Could this be the moment that turned everything around? "Believe me, it was never about the fancy things, but being a family, no matter how hard it is." Grace took a step forward, breaking down her own walls, daring to let her daughter in. "Please, let us talk about this." They stood on the brink, ready to either mend or shatter what was left. Armed with decades of love, disappointment, and unspoken words, the choice lay before them. Would they bridge the gap? Or would they slip away from each other once more? As their fates hung in the balance, a sudden shout from the party interrupted them, breaking the fragile moment. "Look! The fireworks are starting." For one brief second, Grace hesitated, caught off guard by the loud distraction, but then she felt the warmth of Sarah's hand reaching out toward her, steadfast and brave. Would she take it? The choice waiting to be made trembled between them, heavy with uncertainty. In that moment, everything felt poised to change forever. Would they seize this chance, or let the moment disappear like the fading fireworks? Grace felt a rush of warmth as Sarah's hand linked with hers. It was small but solid, a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. The applause and laughter at the party faded further into the background as the chaotic sounds of joy transformed into the steady rhythm of Grace's breath, in sync with her daughter's quickened pulse. "Let us go talk," Sarah said, her voice more determined now. Pulling Grace gently by the hand, she led them away from the buzzing crowd towards a quieter corner of the garden. Underneath the flickering glow of string lights, they found refuge from prying eyes and whispered judgments. Grace glanced around, her heart still racing, feeling the contrast between the festive atmosphere and the urgency of their conversation. A cluster of beautiful blooms nearby bobbed gently in the evening breeze, a reminder of the delicate balance between beauty and the saturation of unspoken feelings between them. "Why now, Mom? Why are you at my party?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as her eyes searched Grace's. There was an intensity there, a mix of confusion and yearning for truth. "I was invited," Grace began cautiously, taking a breath. "But more than that, I wanted to show you that I'm proud of you." "I've always been proud of you, Sarah." Sarah's brow furrowed, not quite accepting the words at face value. "But we've never talked. You've been distant. I wanted you to be more involved in my life, not just a shadow at the corner of my celebrations." The weight of Sarah's words crashed over Grace, and in that moment, she felt every moment missed, every birthday overlooked, every milestone uncelebrated. "I know," Grace said, her voice breaking. I thought by stepping back, I was giving you space to shine. I thought I would let you live, but I realize now how wrong I've been. I can't just switch off my feelings." Sarah's voice was tight, eyes glistening. "It hurt all those years." "I know, and I'm so sorry," Grace replied, squeezing Sarah's hand. "Every choice I made came from wanting to protect you. I thought it would keep you from seeing the sacrifices, the struggles I faced. I didn't want you to feel the weight of my past." A tear slid down Sarah's cheek, and Grace's heart ached at the sight. "But Mom, we all struggle. It's part of being human. It shouldn't be something to hide." "You're right," Grace said softly, a realization settling in. Maybe she had focused too much on shielding Sarah from pain instead of sharing the reality of life together. "I want to learn how to be better. To support you and be in your life fully." Sarah took a step back, her expression softening but unsure. "You mean that? After all these years of being apart?" "Absolutely. I want to be a real partner in your journey now, starting with sharing mine." Just as the two women began to breathe in the budding promise of hope, the first crackling explosion of fireworks lit up the night sky above them. Bright bursts of color illuminated their faces, reflecting their mixed emotions of apprehension and longing. As they both looked up at the brilliant display, a small, tentative smile broke through Sarah's tension. "You know, I used to love watching the fireworks with you as a kid," she said wistfully. Grace smiled back, the warmth spreading through her chest. "Me too, and I want to make more of those memories." "But how do we fix all this?" Sarah asked, her voice breaking slightly. Grace inhaled, ready to share everything she had kept locked inside, from stories of the past to dreams of their future. As each explosion of light sparkled above them, the weight of uncertainty hung in the air, a space filled with potential. "Let us start small," Grace suggested, a renewed light in her eyes. "How about I come to dinner tomorrow? Just us?" "Okay," Sarah nodded, the corners of her mouth lifting. That could work. As they stood side by side, holding on to one another's heart, Grace felt a shift, a glimmer of hope. But as the final firework popped, Sarah's expression darkened, her mind suddenly clouded. "What if I'm not ready, though?" she whispered, her voice fragile. In that moment, Grace realized that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. They had merely scratched the surface of their journey. The real work of healing was yet to begin, and a sinking dread twisted in her stomach as she considered the depth of what they must confront. Could they truly mend the past? Or would the chasms of unspoken fears pull them apart once again? The sky darkened as the last firework sputtered into oblivion, leaving Grace and Sarah in a haze of unspoken words and half-formed dreams. The laughter from the party seemed distant now, fading into the chill of the evening. Grace felt a knot tighten in her throat as Sarah stared at the ground, seemingly lost in thought. "Hey," Grace said gently, tilting Sarah's chin so their eyes met, "whatever happens, I'm here. I won't run away again." A shaky breath escaped Sarah as she wrestled with her feelings. The flickering lights above painted whimsical patterns on her worried face. "It's just, what if we talk tomorrow, and it doesn't change anything? What if I still feel hurt?" Grace's heart sank. She understood the weight of those words. "I know I can't erase the past. But I can promise you that I'm willing to fight for us. We'll take it one step at a time. Together." Sarah nodded, the tension in her shoulders easing, if only slightly. A single tear escaped down her cheek, and Grace instinctively wiped it away. "I just want to be able to share things with you, Mom. Things I never felt I could." "Then let us share," Grace said, the firmness in her voice contrasting her own trembling heart. "I'll share all my failures and fears, and I'll find the courage to listen. That's what families do, right?" For a fleeting moment, a spark of warmth ignited between them. It wasn't a complete seal of trust yet, but it was a promise of something more, a fragile beginning. As if nature felt their hesitation, a cool breeze whisked through, bringing with it the earthy scent of wet grass. Tomorrow, Sarah whispered. Dinner at 6. 6 it is, Grace replied, a smile breaking through the heaviness of the moment. They stood quietly for a while, soaking in the atmosphere around them. It felt almost magical, the distant sound of laughter intertwined with the rustling leaves. But as Grace turned her gaze back towards the party, she noticed something unusual. A small gathering of guests was whispering excitedly, eyes darting towards Sarah. "What is happening over there?" Grace asked, her chest tightening again. Sarah quickly followed her gaze. The color drained from her face. "I think they're talking about me, about us. Maybe they're just surprised to see us together," Grace offered, but doubt crept into her voice. She saw the flicker of anxiety in Sarah's expression. "Do you want to head back?" I don't know," Sarah replied, her voice wavering. "What if they say things? What if they see how broken we are?" Anguish twisted in Grace's gut. She longed to shield Sarah from the judgments of others, yet she knew that denying their reality wasn't the answer. "We can't let anyone else's opinions dictate our relationship. It's our journey, not theirs." Sarah looked away, uncertainty swimming in her gaze. After a moment of silence, she whispered, "What if I can't show them who I really am?" "We'll figure it out together," Grace reassured, her grip on Sarah's hand tightening. "And if they can't accept our truth, then that's on them." As the music swelled from the party, Sarah inhaled deeply. The contrast of laughter and love against their quiet resolve made her heart race. "Okay, let us go back." The two of them moved cautiously, blending back into the swirling colors and sounds of the party, but this time, side by side. Grace felt her heart swell with pride, but also thump in fear. So much was still unspoken, buried beneath the surface. As they approached the group, the buzz of conversation faded abruptly. Sarah pulled in a shaky breath and steadied her posture, but Grace could feel her daughter's tension. Just then, a voice cut through the crowd. A friend from Sarah's school spoke up. "Hey, did you see her dress? It's like something out of a fairy tale." Laughter erupted in response, and Sarah tightly gripped Grace's hand. Grace couldn't help but notice the way the warmth of laughter could heal or wound just the same. In that moment, she realized her daughter needed not only her support but also to find her voice among them. A lump formed in Grace's throat, a realization that this new chapter might not just change Sarah but also transform her. But as laughter surrounded them, looming worry lingered. Would Sarah truly embrace her place in this world, or would the fear of inadequacy pull her back into silence? The night was still unfolding, with so many unknowns ahead. Could they truly walk this road together? Grace felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, but the question loomed larger than before: what would happen when the reality of their brokenness collided with the laughter of the crowd? The air was thick with anticipation as Sarah and Grace stepped further into the crowd. All around them, laughter rang out like music, bright and jubilant, contrasting sharply with the weight in Sarah's heart. She caught snippets of conversation, people chatting about dresses, makeup, and who was dating whom. Each laugh felt like a reminder of the life she had tried to escape but could never fully leave behind. Grace could sense the storm swirling within her daughter. She squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, hoping to infuse her with strength. "Just breathe," she whispered. As they reached their friends, Sarah's heart raced. Faces turned toward them, a mix of curiosity and excitement. Suddenly, all eyes were on her. The laughter dimmed, yet the warmth of their gaze lingered. Sarah felt exposed, like a book thrown open for all to read. "Sarah! You made it!" A voice broke the moment, a cheerleader's sincerity coming from Juliet, her closest friend. "You look gorgeous." For a brief second, a smile conquered Sarah's doubt. "Thanks, but before she could finish, she caught sight of whispers bubbling among a smaller group to her left. Their heads were tilted, eyes analyzing not just her but the space between her and Grace, and then the dagger. A girl named Anna made a quick, cutting remark that sliced through the light atmosphere. "I saw her with her mom earlier. It's so sad they didn't even want to talk." "Like, how awkward must that be?" A tidal wave of shame rushed over Sarah. Her stomach sank, and she felt the hand holding hers tremble. Did they really think that? Did everyone know how broken they were? Grace sensed the shift. Her own heart turned heavy as she watched Sarah shrink within herself. "It's okay," Grace murmured, but the words felt lame, ineffective against the stares. The laughter returned in waves, but it felt further away. Grace wrapped an arm around Sarah's shoulders, drawing her closer. "Let us not let this ruin our night," she said, attempting to breathe confidence into it, but inside, she battled her own fears. "Maybe we should go," Sarah suggested quietly, glancing towards the exits. "No. You deserve to be here," Grace said firmly, her eyes darting to a large bowl filled with brightly colored candies on the table nearby. She remembered how much Sarah loved sweets. "How about a candy run? Just you and me?" After a heartbeat that felt like eternity, Sarah finally nodded. "Okay." They made their way across the room, the unsettling feeling still wrapped around them, but Grace refused to let go of Sarah's hand. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of their connection. As they reached the bowl, Sarah picked up a handful of gummies, letting the colors create a small spark of joy in her anxious mind. Just as they were about to turn back, a familiar voice piped up from behind them. It was Mr. Allen, the parent of another friend. "Wow, what a night, huh? Celebrating joy in the air and all. But I have to say, it's incredible to see you two together after everything." His voice held a hint of confusion, but also something softer curiosity. Grace felt a heat rush to her cheeks, her heart pounding with an urge to explain, but Sarah stepped forward. "Yeah, it's a work in progress," she said quietly but with unexpected strength. A smile crossed Mr. Allen's face, inviting and genuine, as he nodded. "That's the spirit. Progress is what matters. You guys are gonna be just fine." The supportive words imprinted onto Sarah's heart like a protective shield. They shared a moment of silence, and Grace wore an expression of pride. Perhaps this wasn't the end but simply the beginning of a journey. But as Sarah turned back to look at the crowd, she couldn't shake the growing tension. Could their relationships really change? Would they accept who she was becoming? In that moment, everything hung on a thread. Change was here, but would it hold? What had started in hope was slowly morphing into a deeper question: could honesty among friends ever be enough to bridge the divide of what was lost? The lively conversation swirled around Sarah and Grace like an unseen current, pulling them back towards reality. Juliet had spotted them again, and with a wave, she called out, "Come join us. We were just talking about the dance." Sarah's heart fluttered. Here was the chance to reconnect with her friends. Yet, fear pooled at the back of her mind, echoing Anna's words. What if they only saw the shadows of her past? Would they notice how she and Grace stood close, the silent bond they were still trying to rebuild? Grace leaned in, her voice steady. "Let us give it a shot. Just like old times, right?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah nodded, even as her knees felt weak. They walked towards the group, hand in hand. Juliet's radiant smile eased some of the apprehension that clenched at Sarah's chest. As they approached, the conversation turned towards holiday plans and school events. Laughter bubbled up, weaving an invisible web that connected everyone except Sarah. She felt like a newcomer to a place that once felt like home. Seated just outside the circle, Sarah searched her friends' faces for warmth. What would it take to feel part of this laughter again? "Sarah, tell us what you think about the spring dance theme." Juliet's question was bright and sincere, aiming straight for Sarah's heart. "I love the idea of a masquerade mystery and all that. What do you think?" Sarah opened her mouth but felt the heaviness, a mix of her old self and the person she was trying to be. Yeah, masquerade sounds fun. Lots of cool costumes." Juliet clapped her hands together. "Right? I can just picture it." "Yeah, totally," Sarah managed, forcing a smile, but inside, doubts began to turn like leaves in a windstorm. Just then, Anna flicked her gaze toward Sarah, a coy smirk playing on her lips as she leaned over to her group. "Sarah's not much of a dancer though, right?" she whispered, just loud enough for Sarah to hear. A tight knot twisted in Sarah's stomach. The laughter around her faded, replaced by the quiet thrum of her disappointment. Grace's grip on her hand tightened, and Sarah met her mother's eyes. A silent assurance hung there, a promise of solidarity. "Actually," Sarah said, unexpectedly finding her voice, "I think I might surprise you all this time. Maybe I will dance." She looked directly at Anna, her heart pounding. "Everyone deserves to have fun, right?" A hush fell over the group, emotions tentatively poised between disbelief and intrigue. Juliet's eyes sparkled with anticipation, while Anna's shock morphed into a feigned disinterest. "Well, we'll definitely hold you to that. Dance battle, perhaps?" Juliet laughed, but Sarah could feel that the air had shifted slightly. As the conversation continued, each laugh began to transform into something warmer, a series of bridges being mended, or at least, propped up. Sarah felt a glimmer of connection poking through, something real that sparked hope within her. But then, the moment teetered again. A voice from nearby drifted over, "Hey, isn't that the girl whose mom had to?" The words trailed off, not meant for her ears but still echoing in that roundhouse of giggles and chatter. "Let us get some punch," Grace announced, attempting to shift the atmosphere. With her steady presence, Sarah felt a pulse of confidence surge within her. As they moved away from the group, Grace lowered her voice. "You were brave, Sarah. That's a huge step." Sarah shrugged, not fully convinced. "But what if they don't really want me back? What if I'm still that girl they think is broken?" Grace's gaze was soft yet fierce. "You're not broken. You're evolving. And anyone who can't see that, well, it's their loss, not yours." But as they lingered on the edge of the dance floor, Sarah's heart quivered with uncertainty. What if Grace was right, and this was the moment everything started to change? Yet, deep down, the question pulsed like a heartbeat: what if it turned out to be too hard to rebuild what had once seemed unbreakable? The night was full of possibilities, but just as soon as hope flickered, a shadow crossed Sarah's mind. Could she truly redefine herself amidst lingering whispers? All eyes were on her path ahead, but Sarah still felt distant, and she knew the real challenge lay ahead in the dance of acceptance and vulnerability. The punch was a bright cerulean blue, a stark contrast to the swirling darkness Sarah felt trapped in. As she sipped it cautiously, the fruity sweetness burst on her tongue, a quick reminder of simpler times. Just a few years ago, she would have been right in the middle of the fun, effortlessly laughing and dancing with friends. Now, standing on the periphery, it almost felt surreal. "Remember when we used to sneak out after curfew?" Juliet's voice cut through her thoughts, pulling Sarah back into the moment. "One time we ended up at that all-night diner. We must have driven everyone crazy with our singing." Laughter erupted from the group, and a sense of longing gripped at Sarah's heart. That carefree spark seemed like a lifetime away. Memories flashed through her mind like movie clips, friendships forged in laughter and light, all the good times they shared. But now, haunted by what had happened, she felt like a ghost of her former self. Grace noticed her hesitance, nudging her lightly on the arm. "It's time to stop spectating," she whispered, her voice filled with encouragement. "Just enjoy them, enjoy life." Taking a deep breath, Sarah made an effort to push aside the shadows. I remember that," she chimed in suddenly, louder than she intended. "The way we ordered way too many milkshakes. I thought we'd never finish them." Juliet's eyes widened, and she beamed. "Exactly. You were the one who insisted we try every flavor." "Gosh, Sarah, those were the best nights." Feeling a flicker of warmth at being included, Sarah started to relax. They were reminiscing, sharing laughter that drew her closer to them. Perhaps she wasn't entirely out of place after all. Maybe, just maybe, there was space for her to be part of this narrative again. "Maybe we should do that again. Next time in the spring, I'll drive." Juliet exclaimed, the optimism in her tone ignited something in Sarah, a glimmer of hope that she dared to hold on to. Just as she opened her mouth to suggest striking a plan, Anna cut in, her words dripping with sarcasm. "Oh please, do we really need to drag Sarah back into our fun?" The girl could hardly stand on her own 2 feet, let alone hold a milkshake. An uneasy silence engulfed the group, thickening the air around Sarah. She felt the heat rise to her cheeks. Abruptly, Anna's voice seemed to echo her insecurity, the doubts that lingered. But Grace's hand on her arm felt like an anchor. "Sarah doesn't need you to define her. We all make mistakes," Grace said, her tone firm. The group shifted, uncertain of how to react. Awkward glances were exchanged while Sarah stood rooted in place, heart racing. For the first time, she felt the weight of expectation shift onto her shoulders. Was she ready to face Anna head-on? To show that she wasn't defined by past struggles, gathering strength, Sarah took a step forward. "You know what, Anna? Everyone has their moments. I'm not perfect, none of us are. But I'm willing to take a chance. To change." Her voice trembled at first, then steadied. "I've been working hard to figure things out. So yeah, I think I'll show up to the dance." Juliet's eyes sparkled with renewed affection as a small round of applause broke out among a few of the onlookers. They were on her side, defending her. She felt the warmth of their support wrap around her, igniting a small fire within. Anna, however, glared, a rigid wall of resistance. "Sure, we'll see how long that lasts." A deep breath filled Sarah's lungs, her pulse strong and steady. "It lasts as long as I want it to," she replied, holding Anna's gaze. The coldness between them shimmered in the air. With that, Sarah turned back to her friends, who grinned widely. The world pulsed with possibilities, shifting the energy. Could she really be a part of this again? The echoes of laughter mixed with her resolve, and she felt lighter, a little more whole. But as the night wore on and the punch bowl emptied, a different tension began to weave through the gathering. Whispers of discontent danced on the edges of conversations. As Anna made a callous joke to her friends, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of foreboding creeping back in. Could this moment of clarity lead her toward something, or back into shadows once more? And just when Sarah thought things might be turning in her favor, a single text chimed on her phone. When she glanced down, her heart dropped. It was from someone unexpected, someone who could ruin everything she had begun to rebuild. What would she do now? Sarah's heart raced as she stared at the screen. The name illuminated in harsh white light felt like a cruel joke. Jason. Just seeing it sent a chill coursing through her. Memories flooded her mind like a rising tide, those reckless nights, the laughter, and the way he had effortlessly slipped back into her thoughts like a favorite song on the radio. She glanced around the room, her friends still basking in the remnants of the night's joy, completely oblivious to the turmoil swirling inside her. But for Sarah, everything felt different. The colors faded, the laughter became distant, and all she could hear was the rapid beating of her heart. "Who is it?" Grace asked, tilting her head to see Sarah's phone. The warmth that had wrapped around Sarah felt suddenly fragile, a bubble that could burst at any moment. It's Jason," she stuttered, the name heavy on her lips. Juliet's grin faltered, and concern flickered across her face. "What does he want?" "I don't know. It's been a while since I heard from him." A swell of laughter erupted from the group again, but for Sarah, the room felt stifling. Each giddy shriek contrasted harshly with the storm brewing inside of her. The text felt like an anchor, pulling her back toward the past she was desperately trying to move past. "Maybe you shouldn't read it," Grace urged softly, though Sarah could see the curiosity in everyone's eyes. But she couldn't help it. It was as if the phone had a gravitational pull. Hesitantly, she opened the message. What she read twisted her stomach into a knot. It wasn't an apology, nor was it a request to reconnect. It was a casual remark about how he was in town for a few days and wanted to catch up. No mention of what had come between them, no acknowledgement of the pain left behind. Just a hollow invitation that felt more like a taunt. Her breath hitched as she tried to process the weight of it all. Would seeing him again erase the progress she had fought so hard to make? The anger, the heartbreak, the longing all started to bubble to the surface. And yet, despite the hurt, a flicker of hope surfaced, a tiny though irrational part of her that wondered if there could be closure to their unfinished story. "You okay?" Juliet whispered, concern creasing her brow as she peered closer, trying to read the tension on Sarah's face. "Not really. I think I need some air." With quick precision, Sarah slipped away from the crowd. The cool night air hit her like a splash of cold water, and she closed her eyes, letting the moment wrap around her like a fragile cocoon. The sounds of the party began to fade, leaving only the hum of cicadas and the gentle rustle of leaves. Standing on the edge of the porch, she could see the moon casting a silver glow across the yard. For a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to breathe. This was her chance to choose: would she respond to Jason? Or would she let go of the past and step boldly into the future? Just as she felt a rush of clarity, her phone buzzed again. Another message from Jason. The urge to check it was almost unbearable, yet she hesitated. What if this led her back down a path of regret? What if this was her moment to finally choose the life she wanted? Taking a deep breath, Sarah clenched her fists. She had fought too hard to let it slip away now. But could she really say goodbye to that chapter? With growing determination, she reached for her phone, ready to respond. But just before her fingers could hit the screen, another text came through. The sender was not Jason this time. Instead, it was someone she had completely forgotten about, someone who could change everything yet again. What now? Sarah's heart sank as she read the name on her screen. It wasn't just any name, it was Alex. A blast from the past, the best friend who had faded into the background of her life after she had chosen to pursue a different path. Memories swirled in her mind, memories of laughter at late-night campfires and whispered secrets under the stars. But that was years ago, a lifetime. What does it say? Juliet ventured closer, peering over her shoulder. It's Alex, Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The atmosphere shifted. The vibrant energy of the party receded like the tide, each wave of laughter echoing further away. Alex had left town for a job opportunity, and she'd assumed he'd left her life for good. But here he was, reaching out unexpectedly. What does he want? Grace asked, an edge of curiosity in her voice. Just checking in. He wants to know how I've been. Juliet frowned. That's random. After all this time. She glanced back at her friends, aware they couldn't grasp the significance of this moment for her. Alex was the one who had been there during the toughest days after Jason had walked away from her. He was grief, comfort, and a friendly smile. And suddenly, he was here again, a warm reminder of a time when life felt less complicated. Should I respond? Sarah mused aloud, the question aimed at herself more than anyone. The dichotomy between Jason and Alex felt like a looming shadow in her mind. Responding to Jason could drag her back into that intoxicating chaos, while Alex represented a softer, calmer chapter. Why not? Juliet encouraged. What have you got to lose? Before Sarah could reply, another buzz shook her thoughts. It was Jason again. The temptation of confronting the past held her in a grip like a vice. What did he say? Juliet prodded. It's just asking how I've been. He keeps it casual, Sarah said, a lump forming in her throat. Like nothing else ever happened. Typical, Grace huffed. But do you think he means it? In that moment, doubt crept in. Did Jason ever really care? Or was he patting his ego by checking in on her? But Alex had always held her heart in a different way. Nah, Juliet replied, leaning against the porch railing. He wants to play with your emotions. But Alex? That's someone who has always had your back. I guess, Sarah murmured, torn between sweet nostalgia and the sharp sting of heartbreak. Taking a step back, she leaned against the porch rail and gazed at the crescent moon. The decision pulsed in her chest, an urgent beat encouraging her to explore those quiet memories that brought her peace. Her heart whispered, asking her to be brave. Okay, let us see what Alex has to say, she finally decided, gripping her phone tightly. But I can't ignore Jason. I need to reply to both. Feeling the both exhilarating fear and thrilling uncertainty, she tapped on Jason's message, fingers trembling. Her response would dance on the line between past and present, an attempt to reclaim her own story. As she typed, another notification pinged, swiftly diverting her attention. This time, it was a photo from Alex, a glimpse of the bustling cafe he used to love. Memories once again washed over her like a gentle tide, promising warmth against the cold reality of her choices. This could be the moment that set her on a new course. But as the weight of her decisions loomed, she paused, staring at the screen. What if it all unraveled? What if confronting Jason opened a door she wasn't ready to walk through? With her heart in her throat and time slipping away, Sarah hit send on both messages, unsure of what awaited her. The air held its breath, waiting for the next wave to crash. What if the choices she made tonight changed everything? The air hung heavy with anticipation, crackling like the energy of fireworks fading above. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she took a deep breath, her heart thudding in her chest. The decisions she made tonight could tilt her life in any direction. She glanced back at the party, the buzz of laughter now mingling with a more profound silence. They were all there, her friends, immersed in a world that felt light years away from her own turmoil. But she had stepped out, clinging to the hope of change, to redefine what her life could be. As if sensing her need for clarity, Grace stepped closer, reading the uncertainty etched onto Sarah's face. Hey, she said gently, a mother's warmth enveloping her words. No matter what happens next, I'm proud of you. You're choosing to embrace who you are right now, and that takes courage. Sarah opened her mouth but closed it again, the myriad of emotions swirling inside her making coherent speech nearly impossible. Finally, she whispered, what if I can't handle this? What if everything falls apart again? Grace's eyes softened, maternal strength wrapping around them like an embrace. Then we'll face it together. You don't have to shoulder those fears alone anymore. Remember, you're surrounded by people who care. And as for Jason and Alex, you need to choose what serves your heart, not what haunts it. Her mother's words acted like a balm, soothing the rawness of the past. Sarah took another deep breath, reclaiming the fire in her belly, ready to step forward, or at least, learn how to navigate her foggy path with renewed clarity. She felt the weight of those choices press down on her, a comforting reminder of how far she had come. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, rippling through her thoughts. She pulled it out with a shaky hand, expecting news from either Jason or Alex. It was Jason again, pushing for an immediate response. I'm in town. Come meet me tonight. The message felt like an anchor threatening to pull her back into dark waters. But then, another notification came in, a reply from Alex, simple but warm. I really miss our talks, Sarah. Maybe we can catch up soon. In that moment, she felt the gravity of her own choices. Could she pull away from the past and finally open the door to the path less traveled? A pang of nostalgia washed over her. She longed for the closeness she had felt with Alex before. Would he still be someone who could understand? As she stood there processing, the distant sounds of the party pierced the quiet night, laughter echoing as if coaxing her back into the moment. Sarah felt a warmth stitch itself into her resolve. She looked to Grace. You know what? It's time to embrace my story. That means answering Alex. Grace beamed with pride, her smile giving Sarah strength. That's the spirit. Just be real out there, whatever that looks like. No more hiding. With a crown of newfound determination, Sarah replied to Alex, offering to meet him at the cafe they once loved. A rush of excitement buzzed in her chest. It felt like a bridge back to somewhere safe, somewhere filled with laughter, memories, and genuine connection. Then, she turned to Jason's text. The thought of slipping back into old patterns gnawed at her. "I can't meet tonight," she typed, hesitating before adding, "Things are different now. I hope you understand." As she hit send, a wave of relief washed over her, a feeling of liberation that sent tingles through her fingers. Closing her eyes, she inhaled deeply, letting the cool night air fill her lungs and empty her anxieties. "Ready?" Grace asked, and Sarah nodded, feeling steadier with open ground beneath her feet. Together, they stepped back toward the party, an air of anticipation building. Under the glow of the lights, Sarah immersed herself in the companionship around her. Every laugh and cheer felt like a reminder of strength, with Grace blossoming amidst the uncertainty. She held her head high, letting go of the past just enough so that she could step forward into new moments. Juliet spotted Sarah right away. Her friend's warmth wrapped around her, pulling her back into lively conversations. "Where do you run off to?" she asked, a spark of curiosity in her eyes. "Don't tell me you were hiding back there." Clenching her mother's hand, Sarah smiled wide. "No hiding, I promise. Just making a few decisions." And in that moment, she felt empowered, far beyond what had weighed her down before. Just as the festivities continued, laughter filled the air again. Those lingering fears faded into the background. And with each second that passed, Sarah knew she was crafting something new, building a bridge that connected the past she cherished with the present she was ready to embrace. As the evening twilight deepened, she looked at Grace, then her friends, a sense of clarity washing over her like fresh rain. The chasms of yesterday slowly began to mend, and hope flickered brightly. Change was not scary, it was liberating. And just like that, Sarah finally felt alive. Tonight marked the beginning of everything new, everything she longed for, and she was determined to seize it. Now, if you felt moved or transformed by Sarah's journey, you need to subscribe right now. Don't wait not even one more second to ensure you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories that inspire. Hit that like button now to fuel the algorithm and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us how this ending resonated with you. And remember to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends, people who could use a nudge towards their own transformations. This is the moment to show your support.